Okay, so we're going to be feeding the next bin. So we're going to pull off this plastic. Pull off this plastic. There's always a few worms sitting on top of that. And then I always put this plastic in a bin over here, just in case there's worms in this cardboard or whatever, they'll go into another bin. So you can see, I gave this a little bit of a feeding this 2 days ago, just because they ate all that food pretty quick. So I should have most of the worms down here. I have not been giving this any water on this side, so I'm letting it dry out so that I can harvest these castings. And you can see, I mean, here's one worm, but there's not very many worms over here. They're primarily staying over here in this moisture area that has, you know, worm food in it. Here's some like adhesive glue, tape from cardboard. So if I were to turn this right now, this is probably the bulk of the worms in here. Yeah, there they are. So all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give them a decent feeding right here. Actually, not gonna give them that much. You can give them half of that, because I gave them a little bit yesterday. And then I'm also gonna give them some lettuce that I pulled out of the freezer that went bad. Again, put that all right in there, let them have that. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this bedding back, okay? I'm not gonna make this any wetter than what it is. Again, I want this bin to dry out so I can harvest these castings as they break down too as well. So not a lot going on with this bin today. You got their fresh fruit, and that's all that bin's gonna get for today. So again, I'll put down this cardboard just to keep it somewhat moist down here. A bit of plastic over it. Again, I'm drying this out, so I'm not too terribly concerned about keeping it moist on that side. And then this bin will go right here, go into our next bin. Same concept. We're gonna pull off the plastic and the bubble wrap. This is one that I mixed in with some cardboard last week. I topped it, so if you see, it looks fresh cardboard, but then when you get underneath the surface here, well, this is where you're gonna see the actual casting. So this is a really wet bin, and there's a reason why I added cardboard to it. But just tons of worms on this side. No food left from last week. So we're gonna give this a full piece of melon. They should be happy with that. We're gonna let them break that down, and I'm gonna put some of this dry cardboard back on top. Again, just to kind of soak up some of that moisture that's in there. Give this a light turn. Mix that up. Gonna give them a little bit of some lettuce. Real simple. Real simple. Give it a little bit of dark. And we're covered with that one. We're gonna skip the big bin here. We're gonna go over here to this mixed bin. This has got red wigglers and night crawlers in it. Now this bin is really gonna be ready to harvest. As you can see, lots of worms in here. Let's get that in that bin. This one's full, so I gave this a feeding 2 days ago. You're gonna see as I come up here and I turn this, this has got a ton of worms in it. I mean, it's just a hatchery. You know, I'm gonna give this just a light turn, and we're letting this one dry out too, as we're getting close to harvest time. There's really not that many worms in this side like there is on the other side. I'm primarily feeding one end of this just because this is ready. I mean, this is really premium worm castings here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a feeding because of the health of this bin and how well they've been feeding. I'm going to go ahead and drop a good chunk of fruit in there for them. Not going to give it any more water. The moisture level is still good. If I come over here, I'm still getting a few drips of water, still breaking apart. So there's still a really good environment in here. Again, come over here with a little bit of the bubble wrap and cover, and nothing much going on with that bin. We're gonna put her away. Coming over to this one. A few worms in here, put them in this other bin. Okay, so this bin, this one was started in May 1st. This one started off as pure cardboard, and as you can see, it's doing very well. This was the feeding end, so I should see a lot of worms right in here, which I am. Actually have a little bit of the melon we put in there last week still alive in there, still eating on it. Moisture in this bin is also sitting really well. It's a wet bin, so I'm not going to put any more moisture in it. I will give them a little bit more feeding and some of this lettuce, some of this fruit, and I'll do a quick cover for that. In this one, I'm going to give it a little bit of grit in the feeding area and in the other end of this, just to try to keep it gritty for them. And I need to get a new grinder. I've got a couple containers full of eggshells over there that I also need to grind up. But easy peasy, that's it for that bit. So as you can see, this is just a process. It's not rocket science. It's not overly labor intensive. Look at this bin, just full of worms. This bubble wrap is. See if I can shake off a few of them. Here, they can go into that one. Here's another one that was doing really well. It's going to be harvested real soon. But I mean, these European night crawlers that are in here, this is a mixed bin. They're doing well, but they're not like what I'll be showing you here in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and give this a turn. Yeah, again, another really, really full bin of baby worms, adult worms. I've been slowly pulling out the adult red European night crawlers to put them in one of my other bigger, larger bins. But this breeding bin is doing really, really well. And it's packed with worms all the way through. You can see, I know it might be a little hard to see with that camera, but it is loaded with life. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a decent feeding. It's going to get a good chunk of watermelon, and it's going to get a decent chunk of lettuce, and that's it. I'm not going to give this one any more moisture as well. Really good size night crawler. I'm gonna let that one be. Just getting a feeding. That's all we're giving it today. Put that bubble wrap back on it. We're gonna slap that plastic in here, give it a little bit of darkness. But we're not gonna do that. We're put the bubble wrap down first. And that. And this bin slides. Again, another mixed species. Okay, this is a newer bin. This bin was actually not that new. June. Again, covered in worms here. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in here for now. Okay, this bin I put some cardboard on top just to dry out the moisture on this bin. So this is really dry. You can see how light this is. And then you got a little bit drier, a little bit dry, and then you're going to have your moist end down here where the feeding was. There's still some food left in here. Looks like they're still breaking it down. This bin is probably a little too dry, honestly. So the cardboard I put in here was probably just a little too much, but I'm going to go ahead and put that over there. And then I'm honestly going to give this one a little bit of moisture. So I have a little pumper water bottle over here. Move some of this food. Give it a few pumps, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a little bit of some moisture just because of all this dry cardboard I put in last week to dry it out a little bit. A little too dry. Again, we talked about it last week. You know, a lot of people use misters. I found that this method is working just fine. There's no perfect science to this. I mean, it needs moisture, right? So coming down over here, get this side a little bit wet. Got a decent watering right now. Get this in here. This dry cardboard will soak up that moisture really, really fast. So this is going to be a pretty lively bin. We're going to let her roll just the way she sits. She got a feeding. Cover it up. There we go. Okay, cover that one back up. So there's one bin right here that I'm going to show. I'm going to skip a couple there. This bin was all from a mixture of cardboard, and the bulk of it was from our homemade compost we put in the backyard. And that compost was primarily fed by, you know, some yard clippings and some leaves, but a lot of it came from fresh produce that our local markets gave us. And when doing that and filling this particular bin up to see how the night crawlers would do, I'm going to dive in here and I'm going to show you how well these night crawlers are doing in this bin. Look at the size of that night crawler. I mean, if you were a fisherman, I mean, would that not be a guaranteed fish? This bin, the worms in this bin are getting enough nutrients. Here's another one. They're getting enough nutrients that it's just thriving, and they are doing very well. So what I'm doing is I'm moving night crawlers out of some of these other bins, and I'm putting them in to this bin. But you can see, I know my hands are dirty. You can see these are very, very, very large night crawlers. I had not been feeding this. I mean, look at. Had not been feeding this bin, primarily because they're doing so well off of the natural environment. But these would be great fishing night crawlers. So the hard work going into the outside compost bin, without a doubt, is paying off. So this bin will be what we call our fishing bin. And our local farmers, we got a river 5 miles away that has some of the best striper fishing and around in the community. So, you know, these night crawlers are really going to be a sure thing there, a sure hit. I haven't given it any food. I'm going to try something and give it a little bit of lettuce. I just don't think it's needed. But anyways, that's where we're at with this bin. This is what I'll call our fishing bin.